Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Elevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Under cloudy skies, I've got 45 degrees on the barn thermometer, one of the warmer morning temperatures as we look back at the last several days. Looking ahead to the forecast, we should probably get as much done outside as we can, as after Thanksgiving, it looks like we may be going into the deep freeze. This quick calendar reminder, the Jackson County Regional Livestock Market will have a bred cow sale taking place today at 6 o'clock p.m. For all the details, visit jcrlm.com, your livestock authority. Taking a look at some of the top stories making agricultural headlines on ohioagnet.com, John Sheave takes a look back at the November WASDE report and shares some comments, especially as it applies to the corn market. Jim Horman has an article via the Ohio Field Leader that Virginia Tech University is showing hopes of small insects called springtails helping farmers fight herbicide-resistant weed species. In other news, OSU Extension is offering a preparation class for those interested in becoming certified crop advisors. And Ohio's Country Journal editor Brianna Smith has an article as she shares some thoughts from a tree stand talking about her family's involvement in hunting and deer season. You can read about all these topics and more at ohioagnet.com. Well, let's get a look at that Friday and through the weekend weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Got some moisture trying to move through parts of Ohio today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. We've got a weather system that has formed and come out of the Central Plains over the past 12 hours or so, moving through the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Now, clouds have been increasing this morning fairly steadily, scattered showers trying to push in across the Ohio River early on. I think as we move through this afternoon, evening, and overnight into early tomorrow, we see this moisture make it up to about US 30, and we are going to pencil in anywhere from a tenth to 3/4 of an inch from US 30 southward. So it's going to be a progression today, and it's going to take a minute, I think, for all of this cloud cover to break up through tomorrow. Give it till early to mid-afternoon tomorrow, and I think we then come out with partly sunny skies. And to be clear, even though we're not calling for moisture today and tonight in the northern third of the state, US 30 north, that doesn't mean we're not going to be affected by clouds. I think the clouds are going to be a big story for your Friday. Sunshine at a premium today. But again, sunshine comes back tomorrow and for Sunday, and we see a partly to mostly sunny and pleasant day on Monday. Next Tuesday, clouds build. Midday and afternoon, we see scattered showers come in into the evening. A few hundreds to a few tenths, that's all. But this frontal boundary there brings down some significant cold air. We turn much colder for Wednesday the 26th. Thanksgiving Day, make sure you have the coat when you go to Grandma's. You'll need it. And the chilly air holds through the balance of the long holiday weekend. Not seeing a lot of moisture, but there's an outside threat for some lake effect. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Taking a look at your livestock news, today's November 1st USDA cattle on feed report will be one that the market studies thoroughly. First off, no one knows at this point whether the October data will be published or if those numbers will simply be skipped as the government was shut down when the October report was originally scheduled to come out. Second, given the marketplace has not received this data in 2 months, the market will scan for any abnormalities as it is desperate to find something bullish and fundamental. And finally, it's likely again that today's cattle on feed report will share the same story the market has grown accustomed to over the last year. There is a chance placements could be a wild card, but they're most likely going to be lighter than a year ago. Also, on-feed totals will linger close to a year ago levels, and the marketings will lag as turnover in the feedlot is slower, with cattle spending more time on feed than in the past. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
When you're buying seed, there's more to a transaction than money. You're exchanging time and trust, hoping each decision adds up at harvest. Seed Consultants sales professionals don't take that lightly. With products made to excel in the Eastern Corn Belt and agronomic knowledge that stands up to the test, we're all about the same things you are: reliability and results. Buy into a better seed experience. Visit seedconsultants.com to view our corn and soybean lineup.
For farmers, it can be a challenge to navigate life from time to time, and agriculture can magnify those moments. Hi, I am Nathan Brown, a Highland County farmer and a member of the Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees. Farmers, you are not alone. Help is available if you're dealing with stresses of farming. If you or someone you know is struggling with stress, text 4HOPE to 741-741 or visit go.osu.edu/agcrisis. A message from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation.
In other agricultural headlines, the Chinese scholar who was charged with allegedly smuggling a pathogen into the United States was sentenced to time served and has left the country because of a plea agreement reached with federal prosecutors. Now, the former scholar at the University of Michigan, along with her boyfriend, was arrested for smuggling into the U.S. Fusarium germinarium, which was classified by scientific literature as a potential agri-terrorism weapon. She pled guilty to one count of smuggling and one count of making false statements to investigators, according to court documents filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Eastern Michigan. Her boyfriend remains in custody and has been jailed in the U.S. since June of 2025. His case is still pending. Now, the student was jailed for 5 months and 9 days when she was released, according to a sentencing memorandum filed by her attorneys. Now, as part of this agreement, the defendant specifically acknowledges and states that the defendant has not been persecuted and has no present fear of persecution in the People's Republic of China, that on account of her race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion, that according to the plea agreement. Similarly, the defendant further acknowledges and states that the defendant has not been tortured in and has no present fear of torture in the People's Republic of China. The U.S. government, according to its sentencing memos, asked that she be sentenced to 24 months in prison. Attorneys for the student questioned the U.S. prosecution of the case in the defendant's sentencing memo. The defendant also submits both basis on counsel history of representing Chinese defendants and on the press coverage and political hysteria that the defendant's case has engendered, that there is strong prejudice in this country against the Chinese defendants that has colored the prosecution as well. It should not play any part in determining the student's sentence. Now, in 2022, the student started a postdoctoral position with Libo Shan at Texas A&M University, and the laboratory was moved to the University of Michigan in August of 23, according to court documents. About the smuggling of the fungus into the U.S., she understands she was wrong to do these things and has expressed in her letter to the court her remorse at her actions, the attorney said in the sentencing memo. And while the offenses are serious, her motives were to continue her research without interruptions necessary to obtain materials properly and to help pursue research that had the goal of finding better ways of combating Fusarium graminearum infestations of crops. The fungus is known to cause head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, corn, and rice, and is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. Fusarium graminearum's toxins cause vomitoxin, that's a liver-damaging and reproductive defects in humans and livestock. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Detroit said in a news release in June of 2025 that the student received the Chinese government funding for her work on the pathogen in China. A single smuggling charge comes with up to 20 years in prison. The complainant alleges that the student's electronics contained information describing her membership and loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. It further alleges that her boyfriend worked at the Chinese university where he conducted research on the same pathogen, and that he first lied but then admitted to smuggling Fusarium graminearum into the U.S. through the Detroit Metro Airport so he could conduct research on the pathogen at the laboratory at the University of Michigan, where his girlfriend also worked. The Department of Justice complaint details another alleged smuggling incident that occurred in August of 2022. In other agricultural headlines, President Trump's U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced it's reviewing new data on the herbicide paraquat's ability to volatilize from treated fields after the agency reportedly received new information from Syngenta Crop Protection, LLC. Now, the EPA announced it will be asking for more data from all paraquat manufacturers after EPA's approval of the updated labels for paraquat in 2021. The agency said in a news release that Syngenta submitted a new paraquat vapor pressure study that in January of 2024 under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. Pesticide registrants are required under FIFRA to submit new information regarding unreasonable adverse effects to the EPA. Now, vapor pressure is a key parameter that influences the extent to which pesticide surface residues may convert into gaseous vapors that could move through the air. A pesticide's ability to vaporize could potentially affect workers and others who live in or work near or adjacent to treated fields. The new vapor pressure study indicated a higher vapor pressure value for paraquat than was previously used in the EPA's risk assessment, that according to an agency news release. Now, EPA's review of the new study was completed in March of 2024 Because the new data could change the extent of volatilization estimated in EPA's analysis, the EPA initiated an additional review. The EPA said its updated review that was recently released includes the new study as well as previous existing data. The agency said it has concluded there is, quote, greater uncertainty regarding the potential for paraquat to volatilize than previously was considered. To resolve the uncertainty about the volatilization potential of paraquat, the EPA said it would issue a data call-in notice to paraquat manufacturers. Once the data is received and reviewed by the EPA, an updated analysis will be performed and published as part of the ongoing registration review process for paraquat, along with any possible refinements of the EPA's bystander inhalation exposures analysis, the agency said. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
Attention farmers, a big part of the Keystone Cooperative Advantage is reinvesting in the business to better serve farmer members. That's why Keystone is partnered with Purple Wave for their December 10th agricultural auction featuring equipment in Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. Fine field-ready sprayers, rogators, and semis, all selling at absolute no reserve. This is your genuine opportunity to enhance your operation with quality machinery. Visit purplewave.com today. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
Nearly 90% of farmers say that financial worries, constantly changing market conditions, and other uncontrollable variables take a toll on their mental well-being. Add in the weather and family dynamics, well, it's a lot to handle alone. But did you know farmers and their families can receive free confidential services from licensed professionals? Support is available 24/7 to help with the challenges you face. Look for Farm Family Wellness Alliance under the Resources tab at farmfoundation.org. Take care of yourself. Your well-being matters.
It's time now for today's market analysis, brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC.
Grain markets finishing lower again yesterday. Double-digit losses in soybeans, 2 to 4 lower on corn, and the wheat was down handily. Of note yesterday, soybean oil started firm, but then gave up the ghost as we went through the day today. Now, the market activity here this week is leading some to suggest that the top is in on beans and corn, and we're not going to be doing much from here forward. I'll be honest with you, I can see myself being talked into that camp as well, but I'm going to wait and see here what goes on for another week. Remember, Thanksgiving is next week. Our volume will fall off very, very quickly after next Tuesday. A strong offering of October 2nd U.S. sales failed to spur the Board of Trade rally going farther. Slowing trade demand is in nearby. Basically, what we're talking about is some of that latent demand that we saw come up once the government really started to reopen and we got some of the back reports out. Cash-connected and fund-related selling emerged and pushed the Board of Trade grain values lower yesterday. Traders unwilling to chase rallies any farther, with the price of wheat, bean meal, beans being the most expensive in the world. On the wheat side, it's a lot cheaper to buy from the Black Sea region, and on the soybean side, Brazilian FOB beans are anywhere from 55 cents to $1.30 a bushel cheaper than what we get out of the U.S. Gulf. Argentina wheat is the cheapest feed grain in the world. Yes, it's actually below the Black Sea area, but still, they're fairly lockstep there. The point is, U.S. exporters are telling us that export demand has faded since late October when the U.S. and China talked about that trade deal, and the U.S. soybean and soybean meal markets and corn markets rallied. World wheat, non-U.S. corn prices, all of that is playing into this. So yesterday, brokers estimate that managed money sold about 6,500 contracts of corn, 7,400 contracts of beans, and 4,600 contracts of wheat. All of those things, again, allow me to be starting to be talked into maybe the fact that the high is in on corn and beans. We'll see. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look now at how your markets closed, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com. Well, December corn closed down 3 1/4 cents, and March corn was down 3 3/4. January soybeans closed the day down 13 3/4 cents, while March soybeans were down 12 1/2 cents. And December Kansas City wheat closed the day down 9 1/4 cents, while December Chicago wheat was down 9 3/4, and December Minneapolis wheat closed down 8 1/2 cents. Now, in your overnight trade, both December and March corn are unchanged. December corn unchanged at $4.26 1/2, and March corn unchanged at $4.37 3/4 cents. January soybeans are trading up a half a penny at $11.23, with March beans up 3/4 of a penny at $11.32 3/4, and wheat for July trading down 3/4 of a penny, $5.57 3/4. This is the Ohio AgNet.